Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Today we're going to be taking a look at JDong here in the bottom right of Radeon, going up against SpeeD in the top left. Obviously two very, very strong players, both in ASL Season 17, and should be a good one. I'm glad that it is cross-spawn. Feels like JDong is not going to be able to really die early on, hopefully. I mean, I guess there's always the chance of a proxy 2-rax or something like that, you know, ruining his day. But when you are cross-spawn, you do have that little bit of extra reaction time. So be interesting to see what these guys want to open with. SpeeD, definitely someone who is a little bit more aggressive, has, I would say, some more out there builds that we've definitely seen in the past from him, but really unsure what we'll end up seeing here on this big 4-player macro map. Now, while we wait for this to pick up, I do want to talk, actually. I bet you're thinking that I'm going to say, like, thank you so much for watching, all that stuff that I always say. No, not this time, although thank you for so much for watching. But yeah, I want to talk about JDong and his overall level, because I've heard a lot of people saying, like, oh man, you know, obviously Flash came back and is completely dominant. Bisu came back and is like a round of 8 type guy. You know, he does very, very well. You know, he's fantastic. And JDong has had round of 8s and he's done very well for himself, and he's qualifying for ASL, and who knows how he's going to do in each given season. But I have seen a lot of people saying, like, oh man, you know, in the pro leagues and stuff, he doesn't do as well as Bisu. Obviously no one does as well as Flash. We have people that come back and play at all sorts of different levels, right? So that's been like kind of a question. Why is it? Is it like, is JDong just not like as talented as a Bisu? Is Bisu not as talented as a Flash? And I wouldn't say that those types of things are necessarily the case. I think you have to partially look at the way a player plays the game to have a prediction of how well they'll do when they come back. Okay, so excuse me. You know, for instance, something that kind of occurred to me for JDong's play, and the reason we haven't really seen him be ASL champion quality yet, he's been very good, but it doesn't feel yet like he's like about to win in ASL. Whereas with Bisu, sometimes it feels like that, you know? But JDong has always had a very decisive style, okay? I think it's probably one of the hardest things to do in the game is to play a very solid Zerg style while being extremely, extremely decisive. And you have to be like really tuned into absolutely everything to make that work, right? You have to like sniff out these moments that other players won't, where there's a little bit of weakness, and jump upon it and execute it really, really well. That's kind of the style that JDong has, right? For instance, there are some other styles that are like that. Zealot kind of plays like that, although I feel like he doesn't have the other range that JDong has, because JDong definitely can play the macro game as well. I would say Soma is similar to JDong's style, right? There's not that many, whereas you look at someone like Sulky or Hero. Yeah, they'll have the decisive games, but it's not reliant upon that. So just a little thought I had in my mind that I've been thinking about lately. Wanted to share with you guys. Now let's talk a little bit about these builds, because this is a factory expansion from SpeeD. Not that common right now. From JDong, just a 2-hatch layer. He is throwing down the sunken colony, so you know, he is aware of what's going on as far as the timing of it. Now this is turning into a 2-base 2-port. Okay, at first I thought it would be a 1-1-1 because we saw, you know, 1-1-1. That's what that means. But it's actually going to be 2-port. So you can see already that, like, for instance, he's going to go for a Wraith instantly here because he blocked where the add-on goes. That makes sense because he needs to kill an Overlord before the Spire is done. At least one. I don't know the exact timing if you can get 1 or 2 with this build, but absolutely something he needs to go for. It looks like he actually did get supply blocked here for quite some time. That was like maybe a 20-second supply block, so that, or let's call it 15, but still, that's a lot when you're trying to get that first Wraith out. Yeah, definitely not super optimized because the CC finished just after the depot. So that's something that could use a little bit work at this build. But anyways, SpeeD going to go ahead, send his SCVs down. Now, this could end up being a little bit of a tricky game. Okay, a big part of the power of the 2-port Wraith builds that we see, well, I shouldn't say normally, but the ones that do pop out, they're done so quickly off of just one base, right? So the Wraiths would already be over here dealing damage. That's just not the case here. And there's more areas that you're going to have to defend as well. We do not even see an engineering bay as of yet, and the Spire is about to finish. Okay, so 5 mutas have already been started, and the first Overlord is not yet killed. So definitely a bit of an issue. He probably would have gotten that if he hadn't been supply blocked right before the Spire finished, is my guess. So definitely that's a little bit painful. Zergling speed is on the way. A lot of mutas, some Scourge, some more Overlords. I think we will probably end up seeing Overlord speed pretty quickly here as well. Engineering Bay is on the way. Of course, Cloak coming up right now. Additional Wraiths as well. So 2 kills. All right. So he did end up getting 2 Overlords before anything could make it across the map. Going to start grouping up his Wraiths a little bit. Some Scourge coming across the map. Now, if these Scourge get connections, that's pretty darn good. 3 Wraiths won't stop Scourges from really connecting. So he pops in with those Scourge for a moment, decides to turn around. 2, excuse me, 2 gas is already going. So it's going to be very easy to produce these nonstop. Notice that he did trap an SCV back here. This is purposeful. He could get it out by telling it to mine gas. In fact, you have to do that with one of them because there's now 2 trapped. But that's just to get these stacked up like you see with probes. All right, looking at Jaedong. He's got a pretty healthy drone count. Overlord speed gets started. Some Lings, a Lurker upgrade. The Lurker upgrade, this is a little bit sneaky, right? He's running out with HYDRAS right now. So he might be looking to run up here and just burrow his Lurkers and gain a huge advantage off of that, right? There's like almost no defense here. It's just Wraiths floating around. Yeah, he's got a few Marines, a missile turret. Oh man, he's gonna fly over the Lurker eggs. That's crazy. All right, so that's a big, big, big find. That is a huge find from SpeeD. Now you actually have some real chances at catching it. If you don't know about the Lurkers and when they pop in here, the game is over, basically. Now some Lings and Mutas coming back to attack. Ooh, getting on top of that Wraith super, super fast. Some great SCV drilling coming up. So he is going to block a lot of those Lings. That could have been terribly, terribly bad for him. So that was actually an excellent, excellent block. Now the Cloaked Wraiths are going to come up and have to deal with the Zerglings as the Mutas fly away. So that is annoying, and he's unable to put damage on these Lurkers as they walk up. So this is a problem because he has no mobile detection. So this play from Jaedong, this was one of those decisive type plays I was talking about, right? He did the counterattack, and now he has gotten into a position. He forced the Wraiths back with that, and the Wraiths on the way, the Lurkers would have had to burrow like here because the Wraiths would have started to kill them before they got here, right? So it's huge that he forced that to turn around by doing a counterattack. And now we're looking at this, and this is a terrible situation. Now, the Lurkers trying to run up the ramp. You can see how quickly the Wraiths really can end up killing those Lurkers. Jaedong a little bit messy there for a moment, but does burrow at the natural. So he sacks 2 Lurkers up the ramp. The Wraiths have to chase, because if they burrow up here, you lose, which means that he gets rid of the expansion for the most part. Does end up eating 1 Scourge there, but no biggie. It does live through. And okay, well, he's getting a Science Vessel and a Wraith. That's kind of funny to see. It's like Science Vessel Wraith is a composition, I guess. Well, it's going to have to be this game if SpeeD's going to have a chance to win this one. Jaedong right now filling up drones onto his 3rd base, actually passing the drone count here of what we have for SCVs. Now, with this Science Vessel out, easily going to kill a ton of Lurkers here. So these Wraiths still having a lot of versatility, right? Going to be able to go back home, kill this one off, get his expansion up and mining once again. Okay. Who's ahead? What's going on? We're at pretty similar supplies. We actually don't have an academy. We don't have an add-on on the factory. We don't have any upgrades going. This feels like it's not super good for SpeeD right now. So it seems like a lot of HYDRAS are being masked up, right? Speed upgrade is done. Range on the way. Overlord speed is done here as well. So the Wraiths can't... Well, the Wraiths can still fight against this a little bit with Superb Micro, right? So that's what we're going to see him doing. Notice how he cloaked. He's going to start kiting these on the way home. You can outrun the Overlords. Ooh, he gets a kill right there on the Science Vessel. That's really good. Did get a single Radiate out, but honestly, it didn't really matter that much. Now, up come those Hydras. He almost has his bunkers ready. Oh, man. He does load up one of the bunkers. Well, I guess he gets some into both at this point now. The Wraith's still doing a pretty reasonable job here. Worker count pretty even on both sides. Add-on on the way. Double starport, so it seems like science vessels, yeah, Marines, medics, maybe a few siege tanks going to be the order of the day here, which means the Wraiths will be delegated to more of a harassment and scouting role, I believe, from here. Looking back at Jaedong's base, seems as if it is time for him to get that Queen's Nest, get that hive going. Probably going to go into Defiler is my guess. Well, he does have a Carapace upgrade going, and it was a Wraith opening, and +1 is very slow. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it's quicker than the +1 Carapace. But he could go Crazy Zerg. Just throwing this out there, right? Well, it wouldn't be Crazy Zerg because he's had Lurkers already. But kind of, you know, an Ultralisk Rush, I guess, is what I'm pointing towards here. That could be a very reasonable play. The Wraiths wouldn't be overly helpful against that. He could go Hydra Lurker. He could go Hydra Lurker Defiler. It feels like there's actually a lot of options here for Jaedong. Meanwhile, for SpeeD, just harassing as he can, and you can see very, very good harassment here from the 6 Wraiths. It is enough to one-shot drones. So that's nice. All right, gonna just fly out of there now as Jaedong does zone them out. I'm really interested to see what we're gonna see with this hive. Right now, back at SpeeD's base, he has range on the way for his Marines. Siege tanks with siege mode, plenty of science vessels, a lot of Marine medic coming out as well. You know, the Wraiths finally going to be pushed back with a Spore. A lot of people do question about Spores against Wraiths. Like, why don't they just go Spores? Well, the Spores have a hard time covering everything, but this is a big economy 3-base game. So this makes a lot of sense, right? Like, the Wraiths aren't 100% of what SpeeD is doing, whereas if it's 1 base, they are, so they can be microed much more heavily. Here, you just put a couple zoning Spores, and what is your opponent supposed to do with those Wraiths? Is he going to put in, you know, constant attention to them, trying to get damage? Well, he can put in some while he's macroing, but as it's time to move out and everything, it's going to be harder and harder. Now, that being said, he actually flies them into the main base, which has absolutely nothing here, and kills a magnificent amount of drones. A huge amount of damage dealt there. Goes up to the natural. Wow, kills quite a few more. Like, really, even if he loses these at this point, they have done a great job for him. He is up in that worker count once again. Killing off even an Overlord here. Jaedong continues to mass up. He is getting the Adrenal upgrade. So it looks like Ling Hydra Lurker Defiler is very likely to be what we're going to be seeing here out of Jaedong. He has droned up here once again. His Wraith's just about gone. They are going to be picked off now by these Hydras. So that is it. That's the end of the Wraiths. And now it's time for an actual push. So we definitely have a bit more army supply here, you know, by SpeeD. He's got +1, +2 on the way. 4 vessels. So that's a lot of irradiates. 2 tanks with siege mode. Range and stim, a good amount of Marines, a decent amount of medics. This push might kill Jaedong. Well, maybe not kill because Consume should finish, but like this is a very scary push right now. And as you can see, a lot of irradiates go down. Jaedong does have good macro here. He has +1 Carapace on his Lings. He has Adrenal on them as well. So, you know, maybe he can take a better engage than what I'm expecting. This is a very strange composition to be seeing. But does go ahead and burrow some of these Lurkers. A lot of Lurkers morphing right now, but having a hard time getting out of those eggs in time. Defiler's almost ready. All the Lings seem to be dead. They're going to have to eat something. More Lings coming up. Lurkers being pushed back into an arc. And here we go. Finally time to throw down some of these Dark Swarms. Now, the Dark Swarms will do really, really well here since he does as well have Cracklings in here, right? So they can attack super, super fast. Looks like all of the siege tanks going to end up dying here. Picks off a few Hydras on the way out, but SpeeD with a bit of control. You know, Jaedong is stuck on 3 bases. If SpeeD stays on the fringes, micros well, feels like he should have an edge here. But Jaedong, you know, he has a very cost-efficient composition. So Let's see what he's able to do. Throws down the Darkstorm there. You can see his Lings having a pretty good engage. Of course, you don't want them to leave that Darkstorm there. A couple more over on this side. The Rallying Marine Medic Siege Tank do get hit a little bit. Let's take a look over at this base. Third base on the way for SpeeD. That +2 attack almost done. Very good. Well, I wouldn't say very good SCV count. This is actually like kind of the SCV count that you have, you know, right around 6 minutes. So it's not super great for 15 minutes in, but he's continuing to macro up. Defiler will end up getting irradiated as well. The Siege Tank putting a little bit of pressure on here. Rows of lurkers all over the place. And a rotation here by SpeeD. +2 attack against the +1 carapace. So upgrades definitely a little bit better for our Terran player. Group of Hydras coming out to snipe the Siege Tank. They will be able to pick that off rather quickly. The drone does get taken out, and in fact, he scans it. He's like, wait a minute, do you have a base here? Could that have been a transfer? What is Jaedong's plan? This is a little bit tricky. Now, one thing I notice here is he has a decent amount of Hydras, and you can see how he's keeping these at the front, right? Right now, his plan is to zone out these vessels so they can't hit radiates. Now, unfortunately, these 2 lurkers did get irradiated, but the vessels have been taking a little bit of damage there, and eventually they will not be able to swoop in for that so easily. Now, up comes that Defiler. Should have Plague now because I see he's getting Defiler energy. That's always the 3rd upgrade that you get. All right, Dark Swarm going down. Only 1, unfortunately. I tell you, really good rotations here that we've been seeing from SpeeD. Definitely one of the biggest things. A lot of Firebats coming out now. Really, really good idea. Might need a Plague, actually. Let's see what he ends up doing. Yeah, there's the Plague. You know, Darkstorm here wouldn't have really done anything. Plague definitely helps, though. Unfortunately, there's just so many medics in here. The Marines are actually being kept at pretty high health, despite the fact a Plague goes off. Now, a Darkstorm goes down. There's no more Firebats left, so the Darkstorm going to be a little bit more useful now. Pulling these back, you can see more and more vessels getting picked. Wouldn't be surprised even if we see a Mutalisk made. Every vessel now at 1 to 3 health. Yeah, it looks like he is starting to break through Jaedong's position here a little bit, unfortunately for Jaedong. Jaedong comes down with a flank. The Lurker coming as well. Lings popping out to help. You know, right now SpeeD is on 3 bases, so a very tough situation if you start getting this low on units like Jaedong. In fact, both sides pretty darn low. 64 supply to 82 is not common for 18 minutes in. You know, a lot of times I talk about how sub 70 supply, you're just about to die in this matchup. Oh, wow, he picked a lot of vessels off there. And that is the case, but SpeeD's army size is so tiny as well that he doesn't really have enough to threaten a kill, right? He just lost a ton of science vessels, has no medics with his army. Look at this, he's got like 1 medic on the whole map right now. So definitely a bit of a mistake there. Has to pump out some medics. You can see he's making medics in almost every single barracks. More vessels coming up as well. Getting that +3 attack upgrade. No armor yet. Little sneaky hidden base up here. Not exactly sneaky or hidden, but like a little bit, right? This is not necessarily where you expect. Kind of makes sense with the comps, right? Like he's trying to zone a defense. See, this is kind of protecting here, kind of protecting up here. But unfortunately, to get an irradiate off there. Gonna need more plagues. This is definitely the type of army you want to plague a lot. Very few medics in here. And of course, your Hydras will start to absolutely destroy if you plague. Yeah, good plague goes down. Pulls them back towards that Lurker. Turns around as the plague takes full effect, brings everything down to 1 health. Nidus on the way here for Jaedong. Very wild game right now. I love the Plague Hydra being utilized. Like, you have to be so cost efficient here as Jaedong. And in fact, their supplies are really, really close. Should be seeing, well, okay, goes ahead and morphs that Lurker Egg. Always a good move with this type of composition. The Lurker Egg doesn't take damage, so it can save your unit, and they can't really chase you because the Lurker Egg deals so much damage to the incoming bio. Now, here comes most of SpeeD's force. Gets a plague off on 3 of the vessels, goes forward, but oh my god, 2 defensive Lurkers here already. The Nidus is here as well. Let's see if he actually can get a Dark Storm off in time. And in fact, he does. SpeeD gonna have to turn around. Oh my God. Guys, a couple minutes ago, I was pretty close to calling this for SpeeD. But it was like, oh, you know, the supplies are so low. Like, I think JDong's still okay. But now that he's gotten this base up and mining, he's starting to hold absolutely everywhere. And in fact, his upgrades are really, really good. 1-2 upgrades. He's playing against 3-0. So, you know, a little bit better for SpeeD, I would say, but not bad at all for Jaedong. Kind of keeping up in that regard. And, like, Jaedong seems safe everywhere. He's got enough defilers in here. He can throw down those plagues that are just so important. And, you know, gets it there. You kind of pull back, let everything drop down in health. More units coming up. SpeeD without a whole lot left right now. Jaedong's starting to really pop off in supply. You can see his flank of Hydras. This is almost a pure Hydra game. What a crazy game. GG is called as SpeeD just doesn't have anything left. But I tell you, that was pretty awesome. That was a good game. I hope you guys enjoyed that. A very, very different type of game from what we're used to. But definitely a fun one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.